let's transition over to our position recap. It's a group that admittedly I was tough on heading into the season. More so from a structure standpoint, like how they were built, less about how they played. And they came out and I think played bigger and better than I really expected. And I think they really were an anchor. You look at it, they had 23 and a half sacks, give or take a few as a group. The athleticism was on display. The depth really was on display as well, especially with Chop being banged up the latter half of the year. You saw some guys step up and make some plays for us. And, for me, looking at it and evaluating it as a whole, I think the inefficiencies in terms of like a little bit too much depth, not necessarily super gap sound all the time and playing super fast like you've talked about. I'm sure I'm just kind of painting the picture here, and I'm going to let you dive into it because it's your side, your expertise. I never put my hand in the dirt since I was 10. I played D-end a little bit when I was 10.
Okay.
It was a feed. Yeah, a little pin the ears back and go get them. But I haven't touched it since. But yeah, I mean, I was blown away. I think my guy Dion, our guy Dion, did a fantastic job. Want to give him a big tip of the cap, just from a technician standpoint, getting those guys in positions to be successful, correcting some early mistakes that we saw earlier in the year, and them really not showing up a bunch on tape towards the latter half of the year. And again, those guys being a force. I mean, even the Michigan game, they completely transitioned the tone of how Michigan attacked that football game by pinning their ears back, not giving JJ much time to breathe.
Yeah.
9 times, dude. So it's going to be really interesting to see how these guys continue to develop this offseason. And I think the projection for me, especially with guys like Devon Elise coming back and a few others, like you're going to have some core guys in that room that are going to be great for the movement forward and the development forward of especially some of these younger guys that may or may not have gotten some run. And I just think it's going to continue to get more and more dangerous, especially with the way we recruit that room.
Yeah. I mean, I got a few points. Going back to what you said, I mean, even you were, slightly critical of at least the interior D-line top of the season which you had the right to be in a way, as we've talked about before. It wasn't necessarily, the structure wasn't the same as how we've been used to interior D linemen at Penn State, which is fair, right? Even just going back to last year, I mean, just size-wise and things we talked about, we won't go back, but it brings an interesting, question to me because what Manny brought to the table with the scheme and what allowed those guys to use that athleticism that we talk about to benefit their skill set. Obviously, he stepped away. Coach Allen now, what is his kind of deal going to be? Will that fit the structure that we currently have in at least the interior D-line, right? To your point. And that, could raise some eyebrows, some questions of how we will, benefit from whatever this new kind of defensive scheme or mindset is, whereas, like, we know Manny was attack. Guys didn't even have to really think about taking on double teams and things of that nature as much, which obviously is more suited for the bigger, bulkier guys to eat up, offensive linemen. So that is something I'm going to pay attention to. Obviously, spring ball gets rolling and we see what they're kind of rolling out there with. That's something to pay attention to. And then going back to your point with Dion, I mean, ultimately, I'm not too worried because I do believe in our guy Dion, right? And I think part of what goes and most of what goes into it, once again, is the mentality. Outside of everything, outside of the scheme, height, weight, I know Dion's going to bring that mentality and instill that in the guys to, nothing matters but what we got to do. Hand in the dirt, get after their ass, down in and down out every single time, like relentless mentality. I know he brings that, so whoever's lines up out there, like you said, we got Elias and Beeman coming back. I mean, that's big time for the interior. But on the outside, two really good guys stepped away, moving on to the next level. And how are we going to reload that position that we want to do? We want to reload. We want to be like the top dogs across the country. They don't reset. They don't, re-recruit. They just reload. New set of guys rolling out there, firing off just as fast as the last set. So I believe in Dion. It'll be fun to watch. Like I said, that's a competition that I'm going to be paying attention to. Who's going to earn those starter snaps on the edge? Because there's a lot of names out there with, some obviously have way more experience. Sutton is primed to, I think, become another first-round edge pick.
I mean, dude, he looks the part.
Yeah.
Big time looks the part and played the part. If I remember correctly, that Michigan game, he really
came
popped. Yeah, he popped to me in that Michigan game. A couple TFLs, sack. And he really did look the part. And that goes back to the depth conversation. Now, the one thing I want to elaborate on that you brought up, and I think is a big point, is, again, and I know we're kind of blending two worlds here with the coaching staff and the players. Mm-hmm. We're trying to evaluate this, but I think it's really key, and I don't want it to be brushed over, is you talked about a phrase I like to use, like styles make fights, and like how we leverage what we have from a personnel standpoint. And again, not necessarily like hard, like the actual measurables of these people and the size and length and all these things, and putting them in positions to be successful. And I want you to elaborate on this, and correct me if I'm wrong. You believe that our personnel still fits an attacking style of defense, not necessarily like the bend don't break, let's play super sound quarters. We have guys like Daquan Jones and Austin Johnson who can sit there, hold a double team, and let your linebackers go make plays, right? You're leaning more towards of like, we still need to pin our ears back and be aggressive because that's what our personnel dictates. Is that correct?
Yes, I would definitely agree with that standpoint. I mean, one, it'll benefit the guys that are returning. That's what they've been accustomed to the last 2 years. And two, like you said, it just fits their, the scheme of what their athleticism is kind of built upon on. Even we've been talking about the interior guys, but the edge guys, like we talk about, now Sutton, I think he has we talk about his body type. He can kind of he can go anywhere.
He's an avatar, dude. Like he's long, rangy, athletic, can bend like the whole nine.
Yeah, he can line up anywhere. I can see him line up. If they really wanted to get freaky with it, and inside on third, maybe intermediate, longer downs, and things of that nature to really maybe get after some edge inside guys. But looking at the other edge guys coming up, Jamil Lyons is a freshman. I liked him a lot. I think that's the Philly kid I mentioned. Amin Vanover has been there a few years. He's more of a lanky kind of edge guy. I don't think too much bulk to him. Once again, that's kind of the underlying thing here. Not too much, I guess, weight to these guys. Uriah Fisher's got a lot of tick out there. He's kind of a bulkier guy, less kind of explosive, kind of lanky guy, but he's got some size to him. And then, then there's a room for opportunity. See what guy, the younger guys coming in. So once again, to your point, it definitely benefit from that fast-paced attack style that Manny brought. We'll see what rolls over into this defense this year, but